Have you ever had a dream so real that went up for a few seconds, didn't know where it was? The strange feeling of living between two worlds, without knowing exactly what is real or imagined, is the starting point for a unique journey. In this video, let's explore Limbo, that space fell where dreams and realities meet, that make us question everything we consider solid and concrete. But it will be that this feeling of limbo between dream and reality, it's just a curiosity. Or will be, which reveals something deeper about the nature of our existence. Are we really awake now? Or there is an invisible layer between us and the true reality? Science and philosophy offer intriguing insights into this question. And throughout this video, let's put these two perspectives together to unravel an existential provocations. To each chapter, we will delve into the scientific explanations about what happens in our brains while we dream, in philosophical reflections that question what is real, and the impact of modern technology on our perception. Prepare for a journey that will challenge your ideas about what it means to be awake. Let's start. What happens in our brain when we sleep? During or sleep, especially in the hen phase, the brain is incredibly active. It creates scenarios, faces and stories that, most of the time, defy any logic. This process, called a dream, it's like one in-house film production. But unlike one movie, our dreams are immersive experiences where we feel, we hear and even suffer, or we forget, even knowing they are just creations of the mind, intensively. There is a phenomenon called sleep paralysis that occurs when we are between deep sleep and the vigil. In this state, the body is paralyzed, but the mind is aware. People often report seeing pictures or feel presences while unable to move. This phenomenon reinforces the feeling of limbo, a space where we are not fully awake, but we're not sleeping deeply either. It's like we're in a kind of temporary prison between two worlds. Science explains sleep paralysis as a failure in the transition between sleep states, REM and the vigil. During REM sleep, the body muscles are deactivated to prevent us from moving as we dream. However, in some cases, we wake up before this muscle paralysis disappears. This generates one feeling of being aware and stuck at the same time. One frightening experience for those who have been through it. However, what makes sleep paralysis painful is that in this state, hallucinations or visions are incredibly real, even knowing we're awake. These figures or sounds seem to be there, gifts by our side. It makes us question if the brain is able to create something so real, which prevents him from doing the same while we are supposedly agreed. Are there clear boundaries between dream and reality? Or are they just constructs of our mind? Science also investigates how these sleep experiences can influence our perception of reality. Research shows that our brain works in layers of consciousness, where the memories, feelings, and images are constantly updated and archived. While we sleep, during or sleep, these layers can overlap, creating a kind of alternate reality that often mixes with what we experience when we're awake. In addition, studies reveal that the activity itself, brain during sleep, can affect our perception of identity. In dreams, we can assume different roles, lives, and even personalities. This identity exchange challenges the idea that we are a constant and shows that the mind can be malleable, able to create different versions of ourselves. Thus, the limbo between dream and reality reveals that our identity is much more than we imagined. The interesting thing is that when we wake up, these experiences, dreamlike, can influence our perception of day by day. How many times have we woken up from a dream with a sensation that lingers throughout the day, be it an anxiety or an inexplicable joy? Science suggests that dreams, even though they are fictions of the mind, have a real impact on our emotions and can change our view of reality. In a sense, the limbo between dream and molds who we are and how we see the world. This zone between dream and it's an accessible space where the real and the imaginary are confused. If science has ever shown that the brain is able to create complete realities while we sleep, prevents us from thinking that something similar might occur. During the vigil, will it be that our perception of the awake world is really reliable. With these questions in mind, we move forward to explore how philosophy views the nature of reality, and if there is anything beyond what our senses capture, while science seeks. Explain the phenomenon of dreams in biological terms. Philosophy leads us to question what reality really is. For philosophers such as Descartes, doubt about what is real was central. His famous phrase, "I think soon I exist," emerged precisely from a reflection about how he could be sure that the world around you, it wasn't just an illusion or a dream. This thought proposes that, beyond the rocks, our mind is the only certainty. Another classic example comes from Eastern philosophy, in which the concept of Maya describes the world as an illusion, a layer that hides the real essence of reality. According to this view, all we experience is a projection, and, in fact, the world is a veil that deceives our senses. The question is, what lies beyond that veil? The idea of limbo between dream and reality becomes then a metaphor for the search for this hidden truth that philosophers so pursue. In addition, existentialist philosophers such as Sartre and Knight brought the focus to the role of the human mind in creating meaning, suggested that the meaning of life is constructed by every person and not something given by the external world. This reinforces the notion that reality, in part, is shaped by our perception and individual interpretation. The limbo between dream and reality, in this sense, reflects the challenge of understanding if what we call reality, is it an objective truth or just a mental creation? This discussion intensifies when we think of our own identity. During dreams, we are different versions of ourselves. Sometimes we are in unfamiliar places, living lives that are not ours, more than, at that moment, look completely real. This phenomenon raises an essential question: whether we are able to create new identities in dreams, which prevents us from doing the same in the state. Is our identity so fixed, how much we believe, or is it also a transitory construction? Philosophies such as phenomenology, reviews by Russell, investigate how consciousness and subjective experience shape our perception of the world. According to this line of thought, each individual lives in their own reality, built from experiences and personal interpretations. Thus, the limbo between dream and vigil symbolizes the idea that reality can be multiple and fluids, where each person has their own version of the real, which is influenced by the mind as much as by the senses. When considering limbo from this perspective, a disturbing question arises. If we all live our own realities, what it means for our collective understanding of the world will be that we are really sharing the same reality, or we are immersed in our own individual versions. This question brings profound existential implications, as it suggests that human experience is, in large part, a series of fragmented realities that are found only superficially. Plato also explored this concept of illusory reality in his famous cave allegory. In this story, people trapped in a cave can only see shadows cast on the wall, believing that these shadows are reality. When a person breaks free and sees the outside world, realizes that what he believed to be real, it was just an illusion. This allegory reflects the limbo between the visible world and the hidden truth, and makes us question what we see around us is the truth, or just shadows. This quest for truth beyond enlightenment is what makes philosophy so attractive. By treating limbo between dreams and reality as a transition zone, it shows us that there are more layers in what we perceive. Every feeling, every perception is filtered by the mind that, as we saw, is also capable of create entire realities while we sleep. Maybe then, don't just be a metaphor for dreaming but also a reminder that our search for meaning need to transcend the obvious. To close this reflection, we can question, is reality just a matter of perspective? If every person lives a reality shaped by your mind, what is then the real? Philosophy leaves us with more questions than answers, and it is exactly this ambiguity that motivates to continue exploring. In the next chapter, let's investigate how science and philosophy together help us build a more complete view than it can be. Beyond limbo, Science and philosophy appear at first sight, disciplines with distinct and even opposite methods. However, when it comes to questions about reality and limbo between dream and vigil, these two fields often converge. Quantum physics, for example, introduces us to a reality where particles behave in unexpected ways, suggesting that the act of observing influences what is observed. This phenomenon leads us to question, does reality exist, regardless of our perception? At the same time, philosophy explores the role of the observer in the construction of reality, stating that without an observer, the idea of reality loses meaning. This point of view suggests that what we see and experience is inseparable from who we are. In quantum physics, or famous shooting a cat, is a perfect example of this duality. Until it is observed, the cat is both alive and dead, a limbo condition that mirrors our own state between dream and, beyond scientific concepts, a questionable philosophy. To what extent can we trust the senses as mediators of reality? Whether we are able to create realities, complete in dreams? Who guarantees that what we perceive as the real world don't be also a construction of the mind? The ideas of idealism, a philosophical current that defends that reality, is a mental construction. Reinforce this vision and dialogue with modern scientific discoveries about the perception. In a sense, science and philosophy complement each other, offering a broader view of what the real, while science provides tools to measure and observe the world. Philosophy raises questions about the validity of these observations and the limits of human understanding. A philosophy, therefore, acts as a science partner, helping us to contextualize and interpret the findings critically, especially when confronted with the complexity of concepts. Like time and space, the encounter between science and philosophy allows us to navigate through the orbit of limbo, between dream and reality, with a deeper understanding. Together they help us to realize that, though we may never fully understand the nature of reality, the journey itself is valuable. Science brings us answers, while philosophy reminds us to question them. With this partnership, we enter the next chapter, exploring modern experiences that challenge even more our perception of the real and the imagined. In modern times, our perception of reality is challenged by technologies that put us in direct contact with limbo, between the physical and the virtual. Virtual reality is a clear example. When we place a display, we are transported to worlds that, although artificial, manage to deceive our senses and make us believe, even if temporarily, that we are elsewhere. It brings us closer to the experience of living in limbo, where what is real and what simulation is merged in an intriguing way. Advancement of virtual reality goes beyond entertainment. It allows us question the very nature of human experience. In a virtual environment, we can assume other identities, explore impossible worlds, and even feel genuine emotions. These artificial experiences raise a provocative question. If we feel and experience something in a simulated reality, it makes the experience less real. The line between the dream begins to become more and more diffuse. In parallel, there is the phenomenon of lucid dreams, in which a person becomes conscious within your own dream and is able to control it. This practice, that requires courtesy and discipline, challenges even more the limits of what we consider reality. In a lucid dream, the dreamer can modify scenarios, interact with characters, and even create experiences that, when up, leave memories so sharp. How much any state memory? This leads us to a reflection. What if we could live everyday life with the same freedom as a lucid dream? The combination of virtual reality and lucid dreams highlights an essential point. Our experience of the world is mediated by the mind that can be trained to modify perceptions and sensations. With these tools, the line between what is imagined and what is experienced becomes more a matter of perception than an absolute belief. This mental flexibility puts us in a modern limbo, where the real and the imagined coexist, making the human experience even richer and more complex. This technological advancement and the domain of lucid dreams make us ask, are we moving into an era that reality will be defined by our ability to create experiences with the evolution of simulations and augmented reality. We are not far from living in personalized worlds, where every person shapes reality according to your wishes and expectations. This raises philosophical and existential questions about what does it really mean to live in a reality shared? Modern experiences with the limbo between reality and simulation make us reassess the concepts of authenticity and existence. If a virtual experience generates real feelings and memories, does that make it less authentic? In the same way, the lucid dream allows us to explore an internal reality where our fears and desires manifest freely. Both examples reveal that the boundary between the real and the imagined is more malleable than we think. In the face of these new possibilities, the friendship between dream, reality, and simulation seems to lose strength. Maybe the true limbo, be it this ability to navigate between worlds that, no matter how artificial they are, has an impact on our mind and soul. As we move forward on this journey, we need to redefine what it means to be present or agreed. And as science and technology continue to evolve, we are left with an essential question. We are really ready to live in one world where reality and simulation coexist. With this reflection, we move on to the next chapter where let's discuss how to live in a world where the boundaries between real and imagined are tenuous. The search for meaning in this transition zone will be our next step on this journey through limbo. Modern reality exposes us to a series of layers of the physical world, going through digital, even the dreams themselves. In this limbo between the real and the imagined, finding meaning becomes a challenge. Whether everything can be shaped by our perception, where we must seek purpose. This is the central question of this chapter. How to live authentically in a world where it aligns between what is real and what is built by the mind is so tenuous. An approach to finding meaning in this limbo is to see this state as an opportunity for self-discovery. The existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre claimed that life has no intrinsic purpose. Each person must create it for themselves. In the same way, limbo challenges us to build our own truths by understanding that reality is, in part, a personal construction. We can use this space as a laboratory to explore who we really are, experiencing and reflecting on our choices and experiences. Live in this state of transition between the real and the imagined. It also allows us a certain creative freedom. If we can consciously dream and shape virtual reality, why not apply this capability to the real world? Limbo offers us a chance to question what we really want and, from there, build a life that reflects our deepest values and desires. This view does not eliminate discomfort of living in an indefinite state, but it transforms this discomfort in an invitation to Berlin and creating meaning. Beyond the cloud, the limbo between dream and reality teaches us about the importance of being present in a world where what is real seems to float. The present moment becomes an anchor point. Practices such as meditation and mindfulness help to find meaning in the experience of being here and now. Be aware of the present is a way to connect to a deeper reality. And staff, even though the world around us seem unstable or illusory. In this sense, the search for meaning in limbo can be seen as an inner journey where fate is less important than that the very act of seeking. If reality is fragmented and the real is a matter of interpretation, then the value of life may lie in one's own experience. To navigate these rocks, accept that we don't have all the answers, but that the search for these answers is already significant. Frees us from the need for absolute certainties. At the end, living in limbo between dream and reality. It doesn't have to be a distressing experience. We can embrace the fluidity of this condition as an intrinsic feature of human experience. The real and the imaginary are not opposites, more complementary elements than together. Build our perception of the world. By accepting this duality, we stop looking for a unique truth, and instead, we started to value the complexity and the richness of our own experience. In the next and last chapter, let's tie these reflections together and explore how science, The philosophy and understanding of limbo, between dream and reality, can help us live a fuller and more conscious life. The search for meaning is not limited to answers, but the ability to ask the right questions and enjoy the journey. Along this journey, we explore the border between dream and reality, where science and philosophy meet to illuminate the of existence. We realize that the limbo between what is real and what is imagined reveals a lot about our perception and challenges us to reconsider what it means to be agreed. This horrible state that once seemed confused now emerges as one fertile space for self-discovery and reflection. Science has shown us that the brain can create realities, complete and convincing, both in sleep and wakefulness. A philosophy, in turn, questioned our ability to distinguish the real of the imagined, leading us to consider that reality can be so changeable as our own thoughts. Modern technology, with virtual realities and simulated experiences, just reinforces this idea, revealing that we are constantly navigating between different layers of perception. Perhaps the real lesson of limbo is acceptance of continues, a search for meaning in a world that mixes different realities, may be seen not as a challenge, but as an opportunity to become more aware and present. Living between dream and reality is, after all, live fully, with all its contradictions and by accepting that the questions are as valuable as the answers, we embrace the very act of existing as a meaningful experience. So the question is not whether we're awake or dreaming, but if we are really present on the journey. Thank you for monitoring this operation and, who knows, for starting to translate in a new way about what it means to be here and now.